5 to 10 minutes. But otherwise, well, we're just gonna jump into it. All right. But yeah, so these are pretty much confirmed to stay the same. We'll go through July and then we'll go through August too. August could still be changed. All right, so next month we're gonna have the Rise of the Phoenix Force season. So the season pass card is gonna be this card right here, which is Phoenix Force, which is on reveal, revived one of your destroyed cards and merge with it. That card can move each turn. It's a 5/6. Oh, they buffed it by 1. It used to be a 5/5. My initial thoughts on this card is that it's not very playable. Yeah. I don't, but the thing is, it's a very interesting card. But like, what? It's not good in destroy decks, yeah. So I don't know what kind of deck you're making with this. It's a 5/6 to make a vision, right? You're not moving it more than one turn unless you cheat it out. And I don't know what you're killing to make it worthwhile to use this to resummon it, right? In a destroy deck, you don't want to resummon Bucky or Wolverine, really. Tech against Sean, I guess, yeah. It's a very strange card that I'm not sure what the use of it is. Like, I was thinking something really weird that you could do is like summon a Human Torch, Killmonger it, and then resummon it with this. Waver Nimrod. I guess, yeah, if you cheat out a Nimrod. But the thing is, they're both 5 costs, so it's really hard to do. Negative? Well, then this will be a 6/5, which just sounds terrible. What if you kill an ongoing? Yeah, you have to, like, kill something worthwhile, but... Like, it's basically, it kills it and then it becomes Hulkbuster. Oh, you could Negasonic the Nimrod and then resummon a Nimrod with Phoenix Force? Make yourself an 11 power Nimrod? That's kind of spicy. Yeah. If you have a way to preemptively kill a 5-drop or 4-drop, maybe you could do something weird with this. But it's still hard, right? Because you don't want to play this on turn 6 to summon Nimrod, so somehow you'd need to cheat the Nimrod early. It probably doesn't re-trigger on reveal. That's a good question. I don't know. If it re-triggers on reveal, there could be some use. But I would assume it does, actually. But I'm not sure. But yeah, my estimation is that this is a very mid card. It might be worse than Nimrod when he was released. That would be my comparison, is that it looks like a worse Nimrod. Because at least Nimrod had a place in destroy decks. But this doesn't even seem like it has a place in a destroy deck. Yeah, you'll get variants for Magic and Colossus. You can see them here. All right, so these are the 4 new cards. So this is a 5-month season. Something to note. We'll go over them one by one. Let's start with Jean Grey. She's a 3/3 ongoing. Players must play their first card here each turn, if possible. So this applies right to both players. You're forcing them to play into a specific lane. So there's a lot of sweet synergies that you can do with this. You can force them to play into your Negasonic. You can put your Nebula in a different lane, and then it becomes really hard for your opponent to play into other lanes. Right? Essentially, you're making other lanes... If you look at it this way, you're making the other lanes Morags until this lane is full. Right? So both you and your opponent are going to have to play a card and then play another card in a different lane. It has really, really good potential, right? Because if you build your deck on being able to add other power into other lanes easily, with like Doctor Doom, Magneto, even Mr. Fantastic, I could see some synergy. Turn 5 G and it's kind of like Wave. Not really. It's like... Yeah, it's not like Wave or Sandman in that it restricts how many cards your opponent to play. It restricts where they can play. Yeah, Tiger. Right, so depending on your opponent's deck, it will be easier or harder for them to play in other lanes. Yeah, it's almost like a clog card, where now, like, your opponent has to somewhat fill this lane and stuff. To rickety bridge, yeah. It's good with guardians, which I don't think is a thing that we should talk about, but yeah. I guess that is a synergy. It's good with guardians. I really see it being really good with Nebula. You just put Nebula in one lane and you put her in another lane, and it's super hard to play into the Nebula lane consistently, right? Beats high. Yeah, it's really good versus decks that play like a card every turn, right? Yeah, maybe you play it in Thanos. I don't know. Punisher. Yeah, there's a lot of different synergy. Shu will find a good place for sure. If you play Goose and Jean, they can't play a card. No, because it has if possible. So it depends if they can or not, right? I don't know. Yeah, with Goose, I don't know if it would force them to play their low cost card, or if they're just allowed to play 6 cost outside of it. That's a good question to have. So yeah, I would rate this being. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be like an S tier card or must buy, but at the very least, I think it will be very good in specific decks that people experiment with, like control style decks for sure. So yeah, maybe strong A. Yeah, it could be a meta breaker, or it might just not. It might just be mid. Wasp beats this easily, yeah. Alright, but yeah, let's move on to another card. This is the most exciting card this month. Lots of potential. Echo is something where there's potential, but it's hard to say if it will be good. So, right, we have Echo. She's a 1 cost, 2 power unit. Description: after your opponent plays an ongoing card here, remove its abilities. So if your opponent plays Cosmo, Dinosaur, Darkhawk, this flips up first, you leech it. Or Enchantress it, basically, right? Is Cosmo for ongoing? Yeah, basically. 1 cost Cosmo for ongoing. Matek? No. So one important thing to look at this, chat, it's only for your opponent. So you can hide anything you want behind the Echo. Let's say you want to play a Wong deck. Just play Echo, play Wong in the same lane, and now they can't Cosmo your Wong. Yeah, you can Ghost Spider. Yeah, that's true. But that being said, there are some solid counters, right? You can Killmonger any lane to just get rid of her. I think she'll be very playable. It's hard to say if she'll just be a tech card though, depending on how many ongoings there are, right? Because it's not something you can play reactively. You have to play it before your opponent does, right? So they can play around it unless you like guess with priority. So yeah, it borderlines. It's a 1/2 tech card, but it borderlines the being oppressive. I think if it was not a 1 cost, it could be very oppressive. But because it's a 1 cost, I think it might not be. Ghost will see play. I mean, you don't want Ghost with Echo, because then she'll just never work, right? Sauron will crush Echo if that ever becomes a popular deck again. So yeah, very interesting card. Probably going to be like a B tier card if I were to guess. Something that's like not going to be a must buy unless someone finds a really broken combo that gets like protected by Echo, right? Yeah. So I would say like B tier. Like it's going to be an interesting card to experiment with, but I would be surprised if it becomes a meta breaker. Ghost is sacrificed to Echo. Why don't you just play a good 1/2 then? So yeah, these two I think are the most interesting. These are a little bit more memey, but still might be worth playing. So let's talk about these. Does the text allow for bouncing? I mean, there's no reason to bounce Echo, right? She's basically like she's always working. It's not the first time, right? That the ongoing plays here. It's any time they play an ongoing card. So yeah, all right. Let's go into Mirage. She actually got changed a lot before. I think at one point she transformed into Mr. Fantastic. But yeah. Anyways, she's data mined to be a what's up, knock 2/2. On reveal, copy the lowest cost card in your opponent's hand to your hand and give it 2+ power. Basically, what Maria Hill wishes she could be is how I look at this card, which has its positives and negatives. Negative in that Maria Hill is unplayable. Positive in that she's significantly better. So like, she's basically like a mini White Queen in a sense, just with kind of low stats is my worry. I kind of wish she was a 2/3. But like if you look at her as like a 2/4, it's pretty good, no? Because she does give 2 power to the lowest cost card, which can be anything that your opponent has. I don't know. It can be Sunspots, Nebulas. And yeah, it will get discounted by Quinjet if you have it. Wave plus Mirage. Yeah, I guess if you want a random card from your opponent's hand, you could Wave plus Mirage. You have Ghost and Validate Echo. Maki, you don't understand how Echo works. Echo keeps getting rid of each ongoing effect. So even if you played Ghost, the next card ongoing you play loses its ongoing. Any card in that lane that you play will lose its ongoing, as long as Echo is there. There's no way to negate Echo. Yeah, Mirage I think is like C tier. She might be really fun to use though. How can you copy Kitty? You can't copy Kitty. Chat, yeah. Guys, come on. Kitty's on the board. Yeah, look at 3/4. But you got info. So it's a little bit better. Do you think you should purchase an Nimrod right now? No. Honestly, you just want it for fun, Jet. Nimrod's okay. Hey, Billy guy. Yeah, we'll go over the weekend missions in the set because the rollover just happened. Nope. Guys, read Echo's text. All right. So there's some confusion here. After your opponent plays an ongoing here, remove its abilities. This is basically like Angela's text. It keeps going. Right? It doesn't say remove its abilities and lose my abilities, right? So, right, Negasonic reads destroy a card and herself. Once she's destroyed, she can't go off again, right? It's like Isle, but it's not retroactive. Right. That's a big difference. Yeah, copying demons would be insane. Alright, let's go over the last one for the month. I think definitely the worst one, but also kind of the most fun one in a sense. We have Legion, 5/7. On reveal, replace each other location with this one. F tier? No. I'm going to say D tier. I think this ability is better than Snowguard. Right? There's some ways that you can... There's a lot... This works on any location you play it on, for one. Just Storm one land work? Well, it wouldn't work with Storm MTG, because what would happen is they would become flooding the next turn. Not flooded. So they could still play in the created Storm lanes. It's similar to how Mirror Dimension works, I would assume. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a meme card. 5/7 isn't terrible stats, but generally you need like a really positive effect for it to be worth it. And there's not really any way to guarantee that the locations will be good to like double up with this, right? Nah, Spigs. You gotta think bigger. You replace all the locations with Crimson Cosmos versus Bounce. Yeah, like Bar with no name and stuff. He's like a worse Legion? I don't think it's comparable to Leech. It affects locations. It's like a better Snow Guard. Which is not saying very much. Probably not worth getting. Unless there's some other way to combo it. Like, there needs to be some way for you to create a good location to use them on, right? But the thing is, that location has to be something that you want to copy for turn 6, right? He wins or does nothing? Yeah, but at least he's a 5-7, right? Compared to Leech. Triple Nexus? Yeah, you could do some weird stuff for sure. But yeah, so in order of like how I think they're gonna be valued and like which ones you should get, in my opinion, for like competitive play or just like even just for fun, like if you want to play good decks, it's gonna be Jean, Echo, Mirage, Legion. Yeah. Leech is better for sure. I agree. So yeah, that's how I'd rate the July cards. If Phoenix Force was one you could buy, I think it would be the worst one. I think it would be like Legion level. Maybe a little bit better. Maybe the same. But yeah, that's a season pass one. All right, you guys want to look at August? August, we just got data mined recently. Yeah, Gina's probably... Echo could be, but yeah, Gina's probably the safest one to get if you're just going to pick one from July. All right, let's touch the season pass card first. All right, this is August. These ones might be changed slightly the next patch, but usually they keep them more or less the same. I think Daken looks pretty good, so I'd be surprised if they change him. Yeah, August has some really good cards. Yeah, you can use Echo to get rid of armor. Yep. So Daken is a 3/4. On reveal, add the Muramasa shard to your hand. This is a 1/1. When this is discarded or destroyed, double Daken's power. So it becomes a 3/8. Kind of like a better Thor. This card, yeah, I think this card will be very good. Right? You get the Muramasa shard immediately in your hand. It's fairly easy to discard or destroy it, right? It's a 1/1. You can Colleen it. You can Modok it. Yeah, I just said it's a way better Thor. In a sense. Because it becomes a 3/8. So it dodges Shang-Chi. Yeah, it's like a 4/8 for destroy. You always want more destroy fodder. You can... There's some funky things where you can like Moon Girl the Muramasa shard and discard, and then play like Modok and double it to like 16 power. That I think could be fun. It's just very solid. If you can buff it in any way, it keeps, right, it's a double. So like you could make it huge. You can lockjaw the shard, but that won't double the power of Senpai. So I probably don't recommend lockjawing it. Unless you're some sort of discard lockjaw. Oops, sorry about that. This card should be really good, but I feel like to understand this a little bit more, we should look at some of the other cards. So yeah, I'd rate this S tier right now. At the very least, it's going to be a staple in discard. Discard doesn't really have great things to do on 3 except for Lady Sif. Right? It's going to be a staple discard, maybe a good destroy card. But yeah, let's take a look at some other ones. I'm actually going to start from X23, since this is the most relatable one to Daken. So X23, a 1/2. When this is discarded or destroyed, regenerate it at a random location, and you get 1 energy next turn. So similar to the shard, it's basically a Wolverine, but it gives you energy rather than doubling in power. So you can keep destroying this on the board, or you can keep discard it once and just get plus energy. Yeah, it's like Psylocke and Wolverine had a baby. The fact that it's a 1-2 is kind of insane. Like, you're playing this in every Destroy deck, because in Destroy, I'm already playing like Electro to try and just get a little bit of extra energy. Yeah, it lets you ramp into Nimrods, Destroyers, Nulls. People are playing Magic and Destroy just to get extra energy. She gives you so much extra energy because you can just keep killing it. In Discard, I think you run it still. You don't need the energy as much in Discard, so probably not in every Discard deck, but probably a decent amount of them you'd want to play this. Like, if you're playing like a Daken Discard with like the Moon Girl like I was talking about before, you probably play this in that deck. I don't think you ever make a Discard and Destroy deck, by the way. I think that would be very bad. Don't do that, chat. You pick one or the other. Anti-Killmonger tag? Yeah. Best card in the next 2 months? That's a bold prediction, but I would not be surprised. DH. Can we just skip Phoenix Force? Yeah. This will be really fun. This might be what we need to make Destroy like a tier 1 or 2 deck. And be like competitive with other decks. Like right now, I think Destroy is just a little too weak. And the big thing is you just don't have the mana. Even at 1 power should be great. Yeah, you don't really care about the power that much, as long as it has some power. 2 is solid. It shouldn't be more, it shouldn't be less. I think it's fine at 2. But yeah, they could always bring it down to 1 if it's too good. But if it's too good, it will never be because of the power, it will be because of the energy. Yeah, it'll be because it's 1 cost, not because it's 2 power. I honestly don't think you're going to play her in a Colleen deck, but yeah, let's go into Silver Samurai. It's a new discard card that 4/5, so a little bit below average stats. On reveal, each player discards the lowest power card from their hand. Originally, I thought this said lowest cost card, so I was like, oh, that's not too bad. Lowest power can hit a lot of good things. Lowest power can hit opposing Draculas, opposing Nulls if they didn't destroy anything yet. Dinosaurs in some cases. Darkhawks pretty frequently. This is a spicy card, chat. No, I'll check my shop after I do this video, Reigns. It's lowest power, yes. That does make your deck building a little bit interesting. Yeah, Mystique, Sean are all possible hits. Frequently in decks, those are the lowest power card in your hand. For you, though, you're going to have to build your deck so that the lowest power card in your hand is not something, is something you want to discard, right? And you can do that pretty easily, I think, with X23, and it pretty much always hits the Muramasa Shard, right? So it's a very good combo kind of thing. It's good, but is Dracula replaceable? I mean, you probably don't run them in the same deck, right? Like, I think the Daken deck would look a little bit different. The Shard doubles Daken's power, get wrecked. It's a 1/1. So it's basically when you discard or destroy it, it doubles Daken's power. What if both players? Yeah, that will be the downside, right? If you're playing against another Daken deck, do you ever run Moon Girl? That was literally what I said when I was talking about Daken get wrecked. I was like, there's definitely some Moon Girl decks that you can do with Daken and X23, and you just discard them with MODOK, right? Turn 4 Moon Girl, turn 5 MODOK. So I think that this card would fit that type of deck. Right? You're probably not running Muramasa and X23 in a Dracula deck. Just because they're kind of bad if they're in your hand for Dracula, right? They should discard the highest. What? That would be a completely different card. Because then you'd be discarding the highest cost card from your opponent's hand. That would be definitely a lot worse. But yeah, Samurai should be very solid. Another thing to realize, yeah, I was about to say, this activates Stature, chat. You don't need to run Black Bolt to activate Stature if you're running this. As long as your opponent has a card in their hand, which they should have on turn 4, you'll activate Stature with this, which is kind of absurd, right? And this is a card why they nerfed Stature. You still want Bolt? If you're building your whole deck around Stature, probably you still want Bolt. But like, you don't. Bolt's no longer the only activator that's not Moon Knight, right? You could run a Moon Knight Silver Samurai deck and not run Black Bolt if you're running like a discard deck, right? Hopefully Stature isn't. It's not cheapest card scot-free. It's lowest power card. So unless 6 power is your lowest power card, you're not discarding Stature with this. It's not cheapest, it's power. You're never. Stature should not be the lowest power card in your hand ever. Right, more likely it's going to be the Daken Shard, the X23, maybe a Swarm. This should be a very fun card. Like, you might not even need a discard deck. You have 2 options, right? You can put it in a discard deck, or... Yeah, exactly, Garrett. Wolverine. You can put it in, like, that style of discard deck, or you can just make a Stature deck with Black Bolt and put this in. What happens in a tie? I assume it would be random. Yeah, we'll look at weekend challenges in a second. But I want to throw this on YouTube, so... Alright. The last card of the month is kind of the only one that doesn't really fit the discard destroy style of decks. We have Lady Deathstrike. She does kind of fit the destroy stuff, but she's a 5/3 on reveal. Destroy each card here with less power than this. Yeah, so this is good in that it can destroy your shards, your X23, and similar. I just don't know why you'd want this over like a Venom or Carnage in that style of deck. Right? Like the benefit is you destroy your opponent's card, but like only if they're 2 or less power. It could be a good negative card, maybe. 3/5, destroy all cards less than 5 power. Yeah, I went through at the beginning of stream, Scott Free. Yeah, it might be too... It's really hard to say. It's a very powerful effect, but it's a 5 cost, and it only kills stuff less than 2 power. Yeah, the fact that Killmonger synergizes with all of those is insane, Garrick. Negative plus sure, yeah. The thing is, you can't really make it cheaper because otherwise you could Shuri it, you could negative it, and it could get really insane, right? I mean, destroying stuff that's less than 5 power scot-free could just win you a lane, right? Phoenix Force? Well, somehow you need to kill her. So I don't know how that would work. Forge, yeah. There's some weird stuff maybe you can do. But she's a lot harder to work. She has potential to be good, but kind of in the same way that I look at Valkyrie had potential to be good, where maybe there's certain metas that you'd want her to be played in, but definitely not every meta. And yeah, you don't want to build yourself a Forge Nakia Okoye deck. That sounds terrible. But definitely the worst card from this month. But that being said, Daken, Silver Samurai, X23 all look like insane, like really good playable cards. As in, like, if you get all 3 of them, you can kind of make a good deck, I think. Like a good destroy or good discard deck, right? If you want to play destroy, you just need X23 and Daken. If you want to play discard, you just need Silver Samurai and then both of them probably. But like, you don't need X23 and discard, I don't think, unless you're building a very specific style of discard, like tempo style. Yeah, exactly, right. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the August cards. Definitely let me know your thoughts as well. But I think it is finally time